Kenny, are you here? Okay, we'll circle back. Pam.
Kenny's here. Kenny's here.
Thanks. Pam Delabar,
Here.
Kathy Dunham,
Here.
George Eigenhauser,
Here.
Yukiko Hayata,
Here.
Carol Krasnowski,
Here.
Rich Maston,
Here.
Steve McCullough,
Here.
Melanie Morgan,
Here.
Brian Moser,
Here.
Pam Moser,
Here.
Daryl Newkirk,
Here.
Sharon Roy. Sharon, are you on? We'll circle back. Howard Webster.
Here.
Okay. And then Eileen Tartaglia.
Here.
Is James Simbro on the call?
I am here.
Hi, James. Shelley Perkins.
I'm here.
And then we have Gavin Cow. Eva Chen. Is Matthew Wong on the call?
Hello, yes, I am.
Hi, Matthew. So we're missing Sharon Roy. Are you here now? And Gavin and Eva.
I think Gavin is here, but he's not a panelist.
Oh,
Okay, I'm looking for him, and Eva said she's on too, so.
okay, we'll
I
look
thought
for
that
them,
Eva-
and as they come on, I'll make a note and change the roster. We're just missing Sharon.
Sharon,
Roy.
There's Eva.
Sharon is showing on screen,
Oh.
but I think you need to unmute Sharon because you're showing yourself as muted.
Okay, I just let
Eva
Gavin
just
and
came
Eva
in.
in.
Okay.
Rachel,
Okay.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Is
Okay.
there anyone who's a panelist whose name I have not called erroneously?
Rachel, Eva, and Gavin are now on.
Okay, so we are all here. Definitely have a quorum. Back to you,
Fantastic.
Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. So everyone received a copy of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda, Rachel?
Just mine on the secretary's report. We are just ratifying the online motions tonight.
Okay, so no approval of any minutes,
No.
correct?
correct.
Okay, and so if there, without objection, the pre-printed agenda will become our orders of business. Hearing no objection, we now have our order of business stated. And first off is the secretary's report.
Okay. And we have some online motions that are not currently on the screen. But those motions were provided to the board members, and here they come. I would like to make a motion that we ratify these online motions. I believe there were 5 in all.
Rachel, just a
Rachel,
second. Okay, Ken, I want to get a clarification from the attorney about New York state law and our online motions. There were 3 motions, 1, 4, and 5, that had a unanimous vote. Motions 2 and 3 did not. So I think 2 and 3 were voted on before Shelley came out with the ruling from the New York law. So I need to ask Shelley, do we need to vote on 2 and 3, or can we do this lot by unanimous consent?
Anything that was passed online by unanimous consent is considered passed. And
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
All right, there were 2, motion 2 and motion 3, that did not get a unanimous vote.
then those motions need to be heard right now. They've been pre-noticed, they're here, and you should call a vote.
Okay, all right, so I'm thinking that everyone got Shelley's note, email dated November the 2nd, that explained all of this. And there's 2 options here, and these are the 2 rules that CFA must consider when voting online. And the first is if an online motion has a unanimous vote, then it has passed. It can be acted upon immediately. If it needs not to be ratified at the next meeting, although my recommendation that it is brought up at the meeting for the record. And so motions 1, 4, and 5 fall into that category. The second bullet point is if an online motion has any vote but unanimous, then it must be called in a regular notice meeting. This means that if an online motion has a favorable vote but not unanimous, it cannot be acted upon until the regularly noticed meeting where it is voted upon. However, you can discuss it to any and all and let them know that a favorable vote happened online and that it is expected to pass, therefore, at the next regular meeting. Board members can change a vote from online to the meeting if they desire, as the online motion that did not have a unanimous vote must be ratified at the next meeting. So it still is open for debate, discussion, and voting. So we don't need to act on motions 1, 4, 5, even though they're listed here for everyone's edification. But motions 2 and 3 did not receive a unanimous vote. So we have to call for a vote on, we'll start with 2. And this is the rescinding the board decision to eliminate regional awards for the 2020-2021 season.
May I make a comment before we get into the ratifying those votes?
Yes,
Oh, thank you. My understanding is that if new information has come forward, that would cause someone to change their vote. Otherwise, it's assumed that the way we voted before is the way that we're going to vote.
that would be my recollection, but Shelley says they can change their vote. Shelley, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, if a vote online is not unanimous, then the motion is considered not to have passed until it reaches a formally noticed meeting whereupon it has to be voted on. Anyone who can change their vote from an online vote, because technically it's as though the vote did not happen when something is not unanimous. So you're sitting here today with 2 notice motions, and anybody can vote any way that they want.
Okay. All right, so does that satisfy your comment, Rachel?
I disagree slightly with it, but if that's our attorney's interpretation of the law, then I'll go with that.
Okay, well, I think she talked to Anita and that was the advice she got from Anita.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, so I think that, you know, I understand that people can change their vote, but you know, I mean, this was one, I hope to God that the board doesn't change their mind on this one, because this needs to stay in effect, what we voted on online. So does anyone have, so this motion was made by Kenny Curley and seconded by Rich Maston. And you've all seen the debate that was listed. Is there any further debate to add to motion 2?
Yes.
Daryl, I believe that I would like Kenny to make the motion and there to be a second. I think it has to be a formally called motion. That is my understanding, and I would like to see that done.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, Kenny, would you make the motion?
I make a motion to rescind the CFA board decision to eliminate regional awards for the 2021 show season.
And Rich, are you?
And Rich will second.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. All right, Pam Delabar, your hand is up.
This is not for discussion on this motion. I had my hand up before the motion was made, but could you clarify for everybody and for the minutes who Anita is, and it's just not Anita from next door or whatever?
Okay, Shelley.
Anita is the attorney with Nixon Peabody that the CFA consults with and is handling some of our finer contractual international issues. And She's also our expert on New York not-for-profit law that we consult with when we have specific questions.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comment before I call the question?
George has his hand up.
Oh, okay, I don't see that, George. Sorry, go ahead.
I have kind of my own philosophy on this. This isn't a legal opinion. This is my personal opinion.
Okay,
When we vote on things online, sometimes we do so because it's kind of an urgent situation. There's a ticking clock. We want to get the word out to the fancy that we're dealing with a problem in a timely fashion. But if the board online vote isn't official, there are people downstream who may rely on it. Many of our online votes have been things like, show rule waivers and judging substitutions and things like that, that people need to act on immediately. So my personal policy is that whatever the majority vote was on an online motion, I will switch to that side. Because the first time we pass an online vote and somebody relies on it, and then we reverse it when we actually have a formal meeting, then we've cut the legs out from under doing the online votes at all. People need to have a sense of stability. They need to have a sense of certainty when the board acts. So I'm not telling anyone else they shouldn't vote their conscience, but I'm telling you for my purposes, when there is an online vote and it comes up at a board meeting, I will vote whatever way the majority went, even though that means switching my vote, because I think we need stability in the actions we take online.
yes, I agree with you, George. That's a good point. But we, since we don't have provisions for an online vote in our Constitution, we have to rely on New York not-for-profit law. And that's why I asked Shelley to look into that, and she did the research and she posted that to the board list.
And I agree with her legal opinion. I'm not making this as a legal opinion.
Yes,
This is my personal policy that I think is the best thing I can do for CFA.
thank you, George. I appreciate that. Kenny Curley, you're recognized.
Thank you. No, I want to amplify what George is saying. It's not only a good personal practice for the association, but it's the best business practice. We do on occasion run into situations where we need to act quickly, where an online motion is necessary for us to conduct CFA business. I don't know under New York State law, perhaps Shelley can research this either with what is written pre-COVID or during any executive orders that may or may not have been changed as far as implementing something online because of the situation that, maybe something that has not been researched deep enough. And I'm not challenging her authority or anyone else's authority in this. But for us as a business to react properly, we've got to have the opportunity, or at least an avenue to implement. And like George says, we don't want to leave this hanging in the balance where our constituents have no idea whether or not it's going to be enacted or not, if, in case something pops up and throws things in reverse. So, I just want to see a little bit more consistency from the board. And right now, this is a perfect example of how it can go awry.
Yep, Shelley.
Thank you. So what you have actually is a conflict between our Constitution, which doesn't allow for any emergency meeting. It's not really online. We're online right now, Kenny. And so we have the ability to meet online, vote online, but it's really about voting outside of a meeting. And so we don't have any ability for anyone in the CFA board to call an emergency meeting right now, and it's not in our Constitution. And so actually that's kind of a big problem. And it used to be where people might have to fly or whatever to come to a meeting, but we are holding our meetings online right now, which is allowed. And so it's a lot easier for people to meet ad hoc in a situation where there's an emergency. They don't have to travel by train or so forth. So I don't want to get too far-winded on this, but the reality is that this is really about whether or not we can meet outside of a noticed meeting, and what the timelines are in the Constitution that require you to wait a really long time to have a meeting when it hasn't been pre-noticed. I've brought this up before to Daryl, and I'll just bring it up here because I think it solves your problem, which is that Daryl could notice a meeting every 2 weeks indefinitely. And that meeting, the agenda would only be emergency issues that 10 or more people on the board believe is an emergency. Then that meeting would be pre-noticed so that a motion could be brought at it. But you could have a gentleman's agreement on the board not to use that unless there's actually an emergency. Otherwise, you really have no ability to meet in between your 1 month, every monthly meeting, unless you pre-notice it. And then you're into the Constitution requiring 60 days and so forth. That's why you couldn't have an emergency meeting to vote the way you wanted to vote. So there's some options out there to try to get you some meetings in between your regular meetings that could be used only for grave emergencies. But right now, the problem isn't online. It's just, when do you, can anybody call an emergency meeting? The answer is no, that's not in your Constitution.
Okay, can we bring this up under new business and we can discuss at that point in time whether, my idea would be that like tonight, well, normally we would have met on November the 3rd. Okay, so 2 weeks later would have been November the 17th. So that would be, I would say 2 weeks after our scheduled meetings, we would add a meeting only for an emergency if it needed to be called. But let's wait and discuss that in new business. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion on the current motion? Okay, so I'm going to call the vote. So all those in favor of rescinding the CFA board's decision to eliminate regional winds for the 2020-2021 season, raise your hand if you're in favor. Hayata-san.
I don't know how to hands up. I say yes, on the chat.
Okay, all right. So we'll add you onto the yeses then. All right, so let's go ahead and recognize the yeses. Rachel Anger, Kenny Curley, George Eigenhauser, Cindy Bird, Carol Krasnowski, Kathy Dunham, Sharon Roy, Pam Delabar, Steve McCullough, and Hayata-san.
Yes.
Howard Webster.
And Howard Webster. Okay, if you'll take your hands down. Those opposed, please raise your hand.
My hand is up. It's Morgan.
Okay. So the no votes are Melanie Morgan, Brian Mosier, Pam Mosier, Kathy Calhoun, and John Kalilin. Is that everybody, Rachel?
I did not get a vote for Rich Maston.
Let's see, Rich must have got kicked out because I don't see him on here.
Yeah, I'll look for him under attendees. No, he's not here.
Well, he just
Look for his
seconded.
phone number, Eileen.
I gotta get my cell phone, it was charging. Yeah, he's seconded. Oh, doesn't mean he has to vote yes.
No, that's correct.
I'll go get
And
my
so-
phone. I'll text him.
Okay.
This is Kathy. I'm calling.
Oh,
him.
wait, maybe he,
I'm calling it.
okay.
Hey,
And maybe
Rick, are you
that's,
off?
maybe it's a 585 number.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that,
I'll tell him. Rich is a yes.
okay.
Rich is a yes.
Okay.
And he's, all right, let me, okay, he can talk now. I think that's Rich.
Are you there, Rich?
I can hear.
He's on,
I
He's
have
on
Rich on the
mute.
phone. Just to expedite this, I have Rich on my cell phone, and he's voted yes.
Okay. All right. We'll take your word for it, Kathy. You're an honest person. I know that. So.
There you go. There he is, Rich Master. He doesn't
Okay,
have
Rachel.
internet connection.
You announce the vote, please.
Yes, there are 12 yes votes, 5 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Well, I'll, wait, hang on.
Okay, thank you. The motion is agreed to. Kathy, you have your hand up? Kathy Calhoun. Okay, so that was, can you scroll up to number 3? Okay, and so this is approve the revised reciprocity agreement with ACFA. Kathy Dunham, would you like to make that motion?
Yes. I make the motion to approve the revised reciprocity agreement with ACFA.
Okay, and Rachel, you were the second.
And I am still the second.
Okay, good. Okay, is there any further discussion on this? Because we've already sent that contract or that agreement with them, and I've signed it, and so has Marlene Priest. So there was 1 no vote and 1 person who did not vote. So is there any further debate on this motion? Okay, no one has raised their hand, so let's vote on this. If you're in favor to approve the revised reciprocity agreement that we've sent to ACFA, please raise your hand. And Melanie, you want to wait?
Let me see. I don't.
I'm waiting.
Okay, and Hayata-san?
Yes. Hands
Okay,
up.
Hayata is a yes.
Rich
So
is,
the yes.
Rich is
the
a yes.
Huh?
Rich is a yes.
And Rich is a yes. Okay. So the yes votes are Rich Maston, Sharon Roy, Pam Delabar, Brian Mosher, Kathy Calhoun, Rachel Anger, George Eigenhauser, Cindy Bird, Carol Krasnowski, Kenny Curley, Kathy Dunham, John Kalila, and Steve McCullough, and Hayata-san.
Howard Webster.
And Howard Webster is a yes. Okay, the no votes.
My hand is up. Morgan.
Okay. Melanie Morgan is a no. Pam Mosier is a no.
Oh, wait.
Pam Delabar, Kathy Calhoun, Kenny Curley, can you take your hands down unless you're voting no? Okay, so the no votes are Pam Mosier and Melanie Morgan. Okay, so that concludes that order of business. We'll move on to number 3.
Do you want to call that motion?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Rachel, would you announce the vote, please?
We had 15 yes, 2 no, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. The motion is agreed to. Business order number 3 is a judging program. Aline, can you promote Ellen Honey?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I was trying to see what happened to Rich.
Okay.
He's not on again.
Okay.
But there's Ellen. We get to judging program.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Rachel, you're down for the lead on this, so I'll let you start and you can turn it over to Ellen when you're ready.
And Ellen does have an action item, so I'm going to turn it right over to her.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well and staying healthy. When we presented our rule changes in October, we found after we had been finished with the board meeting and looking through that we had overlooked one rule for section 2, which goes hand in hand with sections 2.5 and 2.7a. Rule 2.8 is the existing wording is an application cannot be filed sooner than 7 years from the date of birth of the applicant's first registered litter within the appropriate specialty. It needs to be changed to align with 2.5 and 2.7a. And the reason that I asked to have it brought up at this particular meeting is that it is confusing and conflict for somebody applying to the judging program. The change should say an application cannot be filed sooner than 5 years from the date of birth of the applicant's first registered litter without the appropriate specialty. One cannot have a first litter required to be born 7 years from the date of application if we're requiring 5 years of breeding and cattery registration. And I have to apologize, but this rule was overlooked when we requested the rule change for 2.5 and 2.7a.
Okay,
Rachel
thank you.
moves that we accept this rule proposal.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. I need a second.
A second.
Short.
One of you speak clearly so the
Kenny second.
Kenny, okay, Kenny Curley is the second. All right, the floor is open for debate. This is sort of a housekeeping thing. See, Hayata, any comments?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, second.
Okay, thank you. And Howard, any comments? Melanie, any comments?
Well, again, I agree with you. It's a housekeeping thing. I didn't agree with the original thing, but since it's passed, we should have our rules in alignment.
Yes, yes, okay. Any other debate? Okay, is there any objection to the passing of this rule? Hearing no objections, the rule is passed by unanimous consent. Thank you, Ellen. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for the board passing this. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, and you just and we saw your other two notices where you'll be bringing the accelerated program up in February. So we look forward to that in February. Okay. Let's see, Barb Yeager, Ellen, can you promote Barb Yeager so she can give us a little rundown on the BAOS that was done online?
Yep. She should be in any, there she is, she's in.
Okay. Barb, you're recognized if you'd like to give us a report about the BAOS.
Where is she?
She's muted. Barb, you're muted.
Maybe she's, there she is.
There I am.
All right, go ahead, Barb.
The first online BAOS was conducted October 15th through the 17th. This class was conducted in English with our instructors, Loretta, myself, Ann Mathis, Vicki, and Tracy Petty. We were unable to have a handling session, but we'll be looking for alternatives to this important portion of the school. The registrations closed October 7th, and our final count for attendees or registries was 36. Of the 36, we had 35 that participated for the 3 days. We had one person that was ill, and she's going to attend the next one. And she was also from one of the Asian countries. We had 12 different countries represented. And 8 of the attendees were present to obtain their CE points for next year. The class was received well. All of the evaluations have been reviewed, and they did come in with a lot of real positive information. We collected $6,000, and the expenses for the licenses, and the licenses we're talking about are Zoom licenses, and instructors were almost $2,900. So we are looking to hold another show possibly in the spring, but what we'd like to, even though it'll be taught in English, it will be on a time zone that's more acceptable to some of the other countries. We've been looking at Europe. I haven't talked to Pam yet about that, though.
But Pam would like that.
I'm sure she would.
All right. Is that the conclusion of your report, Barbara?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a wonderful job you guys done. Okay, our next order of business is the central office report. Aline, you're recognized.
Okay. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the WeChat app that was discussed before we got more information. James worked, well, you can see what I reported on. So James worked with Gavin and Sonnet to determine what's needed to integrate to CFA's database. There was James' synopsis. We can do it. It's going to take about 72 to 88 hours of development. Estimated cost of 11,440. Half of that is to develop the web architecture so that outside apps can talk to CFA system. So even though we would be creating that for this app, it would be useful in the future for other areas as well. The only downside is that, as you'll see, the entry clerk software development doesn't have direct show entry input from the app. It can't be accomplished without a significant redesign of the entry clerk software. They've come up with a viable alternative that Gavin has indicated is acceptable. You'll see that it's a 4 to 6 week completion date once we give Sonnet the okay to start. We did check with Gavin to see if he thought the 72 to 88 hours of development was reasonable for what's being done, and he did agree that it is. So I don't know if James, if you have a comment, or if Gavin wants to add anything to that.
Go ahead,
but then James. I did want to.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to add. It pretty much sums up everything there. The key thing is that, half of that cost is just to put that architecture in place onto the system. So, that could be used in the future for other similar, programs or apps as well.
I have a question. If this app that's going to be instituted in China initially, will there have to be any changes when we introduce the app to the rest of CFA?
No, not at all. The architecture will be in place. Whether we can reuse what Gavin does, I don't know. We may be writing our own app. I don't know how that'll work.
Okay, Gavin, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah. So the WeChat app is based on its own SDK and its own framework. So it's actually developed by the WeChat company. So strictly speaking, the coding cannot be reused. But like James said, the design and the database and the UI can probably be reused when we're doing it for other apps for other regions. So I guess we can reuse part of it, but not a straight port from WeChat to iOS per se.
Okay, so then that would be like a short-term development in order to implement that here in the States?
Okay, go ahead, James.
No, like I say, it depends on how complex an app we want. I mean, you're talking pretty much something from scratch. We would have an idea what we'd want to do based on the WeChat app, but it would be all fresh programming.
Okay. Anything else, Gavin?
No.
Okay, thank you. So I need someone to make the motion.
Rachel moves.
Kenny seconds.
Okay, Rachel moves, Kenny seconds. Approve the expenditure to develop the needed software to interact with the WeChat app. So the floor is open for debate. George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, I have a question and a comment. I'll start with the comment. My preference would be that the motion include the amount we're authorizing.
That's what I
okay.
Several of our hands up for that.
That it was in motion.
And the other thing, I just wanted to question how solid.
Take it up to 11.
Okay, we're getting some crosstalk here. Right. How solid a number is that 11,440? The expenditure of 11,440. How good an estimate is that? Is that fairly tight, or is it maybe a little more, a little less? Should we make it a motion of up to $12,000, for example?
I'd be more comfortable with 12,000 just to be sure.
Okay, so why don't we put approve the expenditure up to $12,000 in the motion to develop the needed software? Is that acceptable, George?
Fine by me if it's acceptable to the maker and the second.
Okay,
It's
Rachel?
acceptable to me.
And
Kenny?
the second as well.
okay, thank you. All right, George, you have any other comments? Is there any further debate? I don't see anybody's hands up. Howard, do you have any comments? Hayata, Melanie? I think, did I see Rich? Is Rich back in the meeting?
Daryl, this is Kathy.
Yes.
Rich and I both materially had our hands up about the amount of money in the motion, which was, we were in agreement on 12,000.
You are agreement? Okay.
Both of us.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, is there any objection to this amended motion that we're going to be voting on? Okay, hearing no objection, but unanimous consent.
Okay.
The motion is agreed to.
I think so.
Okay,
This one
Thank
coming up
you.
here with the.
I have one other item.
Okay.
Daryl, let me go ahead and share that.
yeah,
It came up just yesterday. It's regarding grand points and confirming champions. You know, grand points are available for a cat online through Herman Online. Unfortunately, they're only viewable if a champion or premier title has been claimed and confirmed. And we believe that this restriction should be removed. So anybody showing their cat towards a grand can see how many points they have towards a grand, regardless of whether they've had a chance to confirm the champion or premier yet, or even had enough rings to do so. It's become particularly important, or I should say inconvenient for our exhibitors now that many of our shows are only 2 rings. So there would be a slight programming cost, but we believe it's something that would be a good thing. So we would ask that the board endorse a motion to provide the grand points online without title restrictions.
okay. Can we, after motion, put a motion to approve up to $1,000 to provide grand points online without restrictions? Because everybody seems to want to add in the dollar amounts.
I was going to, sorry.
Go ahead, Pam.
I was going to put that in and make the motion. We've had two ring shows already in the past 30 days.
Okay.
And we also have the provision that we gave for the rest of the show season that cats can be claim the title of grand champion or grand premier once they reach the required points without having the number of qualifying rings. This will give people the chance to be accurate with their grand points.
Rachel seconds.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. So we don't need an amendment because we inserted the dollar amounts. Pam, do you have further comments? Your hand's up.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyone else would like to debate this motion? Okay, don't see anybody's hands up. So is there any objection to the ratification of this motion?
Oh, you back in.
Anyone? Okay, I hearing no objection, the motion is agreed to by unanimous consent.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, and we also have the Grand of Distinction that I sent out yesterday, but I think we can cover that in new business, if that's okay, or if you want to do it now, we can do it now.
New business, for God's sake.
Why don't we do it now, Daryl?
Okay, all right. So at Cotton States this weekend, before the show began, Kenny and I had a meeting with everybody. And one of the things that got brought to our attention was a need to modify the number of finals to qualify for Grand of Distinction this year. Aline sent out a note today that for last season, we changed it to 20 finals with any combination of all breed and specialty rings. I need someone to make a motion to continue that for this season since we've lost about half of the show season.
So moved.
Thank you, Rachel.
Steve, second.
And Steve McCullough seconds. Okay, Pam, your hand is up.
I'm a little concerned that people who last year were keeping their self online to be able to get the grant of distinction. This year, especially in Region 9, I don't know if we're going to have enough shows even to get to that threshold that's required. Do we want to have a gimme season for grant of distinctions? Otherwise, cats are going to fall out because they can't get to enough shows.
Pam, do you know how many rings that you have planned for this show season?
Right now, one more 2-ring show.
So 4 rings altogether.
6.
6 rings.
We don't know about. We've got Germany is going to be held up until at least Christmas. They're locked in. Spain is the same. Italy, the 3 richest areas of Italy are under restrictions. We don't know when we can have the shows. We have some that are planned, but we don't know if they're going to be able to be licensed.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Further, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Maybe the way to deal with that is to have a dual system, X number of points or X percentage of the number of available rings in that region this year, whichever is less. That way, if there's only 10 rings available in Europe, then we would go with a percentage of 10, whatever percentage we agree upon. And that way we can have a workaround for the workaround.
Okay, Kenny Carly.
I agree with what George is saying. There are restrictions in certain areas within regions and what have you. I do like the percentage of rings approach. Right now, we've already taken 1/3 away, for instance, because it used to be 30 rings. So now we're down to 20. And we may not be able to achieve 20. It sounds like Europe is never going to reach that particular amount. I think that we should decide on a percentage of rings made depending upon the region. And that way it makes it more equitable for the people that are participating within that area.
Okay, thank you. Pam, would you like to make a motion or amendment to make it a percentage of, we probably should do Region 8 and Region 9 and the international division, don't you think? Because they're
probably would work. What was I'm trying to find what you put out. It was 20 rings that you had proposed.
Well, that's what we did for the last show season. Aline sent that out this morning.
Here, I just found it.
Okay.
Your suggestions were half the number of finals, which would be 15 total finals, 10 must be all breed, or as an alternative, it would be to require 20 finals in any combination of all breed or specialty.
That's correct. That was the suggestions given to me at the meeting.
Right. I move that for granted distinction, there would be a total of.
Well, we already have Pam, we already have a motion on the table.
Never mind.
If you want to amend that motion, you can do that.
Yes. Okay.
I would say for any exhibitors outside of regions 1 through 9. Then
1 through 7.
Carol,
Yeah, 1 through 7. Yep. Hang on. Kathy Calhoun wants, or yeah, she
Can I
wants to
just make a
speak.
suggestion?
Yep.
This might be something that we would want to take offline and have a small group work through the details and bring it back in December, as opposed to trying to work it through on this call.
Okay.
That works.
That work for you, Pam? Rachel, you want to withdraw
Yes.
your motion? And I think was it Steve that did the second, or Kenny?
No, Steve did.
Yeah, I'll withdraw this.
Agree to.
Steve
I'll withdraw.
McCullough? Okay,
I'll
thank
withdraw.
you. All right, so,
Rich was aligned as well.
okay, so Pam, you want to take on that chore to bring it back to
Sure.
December? Okay, thank you so
Will do.
much. Okay, so that's, that one is resolved. So let's move on to show sponsorship. The next order of business,
Okay.
Rich Maston.
So this is Kathy.
Yep,
Rich is having problems with the internet,
okay,
cutting in and out. So I'm going to present this for him.
okay.
Okay, so hopefully everybody has read the document. And I'm going to move to the motion.
Okay,
So effective immediately.
Kenny will second.
well, let her read the motion,
Read
Kenny,
it.
for the record.
Sorry.
Effective immediately, sponsorship funds awarded to club regions areas for any sponsorship program, and the programs are listed, will be sent to club/region or area after central office receives show packet and payment for entry fee surcharge. So the difference is there's no pre sponsorship. All the sponsorship dollars that are being awarded would be sent to the appropriate recipient after the show packet and the fee surcharges have been paid.
I will second.
Okay, are you including the B and the 2 and the A? Is that all part of the motion?
The
No.
motion,
No, that's a different issue. That's
Okay.
part of the report.
Okay.
yeah, that's
all
part
right,
of the report. I see what you said. That's part of the report,
Okay, all right,
which I'm assuming everybody's digested.
all right, okay, good deal. All right, so, okay, so this is for A, 1A. All right, so Kathy, you've made the motion and Kenny seconded. Pam Delvar, your hands up.
Yes, it is. I had some correspondence with Rich about this. We have vendors who have not been making money. We have show halls that have not been making money. They want their deposits up front. The Rosette people want their stuff paid up front. There are a lot of expenses that have to be paid up front for a lot of people and even our vendors, et cetera, who have not been particularly flush with money. Now, I'm going to personally have to abstain because my club is going to be putting on a show on the 29th of this month and did ask for a sponsorship. I just think that with the money that we're looking at this board meeting at spending on other matters, I think that our first priority should be to the clubs. And there haven't been problems with any of the Region 9 clubs previously. But with the show packages, I can tell you from the show on the 18th of October, that was fortunately, everything was faxed in to Shirley so she could score the show. The fees were paid online as well as the surcharges. And the show package itself, even though sent priority, still has not reached central office. And that's been since the 18th of October. I don't know what else to tell you. I have told my clubs that if they get a sponsorship and the show does not happen, they must pay that back to CFA immediately. But I have to abstain, even though I would be a very strong no against this.
Okay, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
And I agree with Pam. I understand the reason for this motion with so many unknowns out there in the world. We don't know how many shows are going to get canceled. It's going to be chaotic for a while. It's much harder to get money back than not send it in the first place. But the purpose of the sponsorships fundamentally is to help the clubs. And there are a lot of clubs out there that don't have a whopping big bank account that can afford to wait until after their show is over to get their sponsorship money. Maybe some sort of a compromise can be found. Maybe that we can put a little more pressure on the clubs to pay it back if they've gotten money and then had to cancel their show. But the way this is written, clubs are going to lose a lot by not getting the sponsorship money until after the show. And I think that's the wrong thing to be doing now when so many clubs are hurting.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
So while I can understand both Pam and George's position, what we have a lot of clubs shows that have had to be canceled, and they have already gotten the pre-show sponsorship, which we have spent an enormous amount of time chasing down and trying to recover the monies, and have not always been successful. So I would like to move forward and with this motion as it is. The other thing, really, given this situation, and while I can understand a lot of clubs don't have big bank accounts, but given this situation, really, if a club is really on the razor's edge, where the sponsorship money, the pre-sponsorship money is the difference between having the show or not having the show, there's a tremendous amount of risk they're taking on. The show could be financially unsuccessful for so many reasons. It would, it calls into question whether you should really move forward if your financials are really that tight, particularly, and we're talking about this particularly during this pandemic.
Okay. Kenny Curley, you're recognized.
Okay.
Yeah. The Cotton States show that we just had this past weekend, they lost money. I know that the next two shows that are planned in my region, they've already counted on losing money. So they're using their money. They're putting it online in service to CFA. So I'm torn on this as far as accepting this motion or not accepting this motion. But I figured that if they're going to take the risk, then we need to take the risk as well. And that's the way I feel. I do think that they need to know that they're obligated, if for some reason their show is canceled, to either pay it back or move it forward to the next show when things may or may not get better. So, perhaps a little bit more thought can be given into this situation as things open back up, hopefully very, very soon.
Okay, thank you, Kenny. Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. If I recall correctly, this entire issue was discussed at length at our last meeting, and we tasked Rich with writing it up in a motion. And I recall that there was pretty unanimous alignment just a month ago. And so now it seems like we're reversing that position. I don't really understand why. Frankly, as a club member in CFA, I think we're extremely blessed because we have the opportunity to have not one, but 3 different types of sponsorship, very generous sponsorship that CFA gives to the clubs so that we can continue to put on our shows and promote our association. I challenge any other association in the world to do that, where a club could hold their show and get $3,000 in sponsorship. So I don't think that this motion is putting a hardship on any club. I think not implementing the motion would put a hardship on CFA and our staff. Thank you.
Okay, Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
If I remember, our total amount that we had for show sponsorship was somewhere in the neighborhood of was it 25,000 or something like that. So considering what we're going against, I still do not see why the clubs who have constantly done good, have acted in good faith, are the ones that are getting punished for the other clubs that are not. We can go and get different things against the clubs that are not paying if they don't put on their show. One, I would wait until like a week before or whatever. If CFA, let me put it this way, if CFA is that hard up, wait maybe those 7 days before the show, before sending the money to the PayPal. But otherwise, our clubs are acting in good faith by putting on shows. CFA does not need to change a rule in midstream when clubs may be requiring, or maybe, words are not easy at 4 o'clock in the morning. It is not easy when you are putting this into your budget. When it's been approved, and now we find out midstream that there's a problem with getting the funds, especially if you're waiting for the show package to reach CFA. That's once it leaves the mail system here in Finland, we have no control over that, just like you have no control over your postal system in the US. But the club is the one that's getting hurt.
Okay, Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized. Kathy Calhoun.
Kathy, you're on mute. Sorry. So your circumstances have changed on both sides of this issue, and we're just trying to be, financially good stewards for the entire organization. We don't know that, we have had probably more shows that have canceled than shows that have occurred. And I think CFA was quite generous in allowing clubs to keep that money. We just feel that we need to we need to ensure that we are looking out for the best interest for CFA and for the clubs. And again, I would say that, given if you have a situation like Pam said, where she's got a packet lost in the mail or being delayed in the mail, well, let's talk about that. But I mean, let's talk about that. If we need to do different. Generally, that's not the case. It's not the case that the packet and the sponsorship, the surcharge is held up by postal systems. We can certainly, Pam, I mean, given a situation where a club is in the has done every effort they can to have the show, get the packet and the surcharge to us, and it's delayed. Let's talk about that as a one-off.
Or 3 off.
Okay.
Let's talk about it individually.
Just to mention, if we receive scans of all the documents and all the fees are paid, we will, to us, that's the show package being received. We're not going to wait for that show package to come in the mail if we've been able to score the show already, because we have everything faxed or scanned to us.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Melanie?
Go ahead, Melanie.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, I understand where Pam's coming from. On the other hand, I don't think that we're taking anything away from the clubs. We're not saying they can't have the sponsorship funds. They know they will get them, and they know that CFA is good for it. We're simply doing what is a fairly normal process for awarding sponsorship type funds.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm producing. Knowing that the money was coming would give me the ability to move forward, knowing that the funds could be counted on. So I tend to be in favor of supporting what our committee chairs and central office, et cetera, and our show sponsorship people are asking for. So I'm in support of this.
Okay. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Yeah, I know this is my third round, but I've taken, Rich's comments as well. My third
Yes.
comment. But the other thing, is that we are, as far as pre-show sponsorships, we are having a hard time confirming that clubs are actually having shows. They've requested funds. The facilities have been called. Sometimes they don't answer the phone. Sometimes they say they don't know anything about it. It's not on their calendar, on their websites. It's beginning to be, as these facilities are also limiting their staff because of the COVID and quarantines and self quarantines. Verification is beginning to be exceedingly difficult prior to the show.
Okay. Pam Delbar, this is your third.
This is my third. I just wanted
Make it short, please.
I am short. With that, Kathy, it's very easy to verify over here in Europe whether we're having a show or not. Melissa, before she agrees to give a sponsorship to one of the clubs, has been coming to me saying, would you please verify that this show is going to happen? And I have been doing that. I don't see why other regional directors couldn't do it either as well.
Okay. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Yes, Morgan.
Okay.
Yes, Yuki.
Yes for Yuki. I think Howard is on now. I let him in. Are you able to raise your hand, Howard?
No.
Okay. All right. So the yes votes are Kenny Curley, Rich Maston, Cindy Bird, Rachel Anger, John Kalila, Carol Krasnowski, Kathy Dunham, Brian Mosier, Pam Mosier, Sharon Roy, Kathy Calhoun, Steve McCullough, Yukiko Hayata, and Howard. Are you a yes or a no?
Yes.
And Howard Webster is a yes. Okay, for Melanie?
Did you get me as a yes?
No, I didn't. So, okay, Melanie's a yes. All right, everybody lower your hands. All those opposed to the motion now, please raise your hands. Okay, Kathy, you're opposed to it? Okay, so the no votes are John Colella and George Eigenhauser. Abstentions?
No, John Colella says yes. I just didn't lower my hand. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're a yes. Okay. Pam Delabar is an abstention. So Rachel, would you please announce the vote?
We have 15 yes votes, 1 no vote, 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you. That's 17. So that, okay, Kathy, you're up for your next motion. Or Rich, are you on now?
Rich is in and out, so I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Okay, so let me. So hopefully, again, you have read paragraph A. So I'm going to read the motion. CFA will not reimburse clubs, regions, and areas for show expenses if the show is canceled or shut down due to government mandates, restrictions related to COVID, or for not having government approval, legal authority to host a show after May 31st, 2020. So just let me just add a comment here. The May 31st, 2020 was, and prior to that were the shows that CFA mandated be shut down because of COVID. And we put together a program to reimburse clubs for given expenses due to CFA's action.
Okay.
Post May 31st, the clubs have decided, given the circumstances of a pandemic, that they feel that they want to go forward with a show, and which may be at risk financially or at risk of being shut down, and deposits and those sorts of things may be at risk as well. So the motion is that CFA's liability is for those shows prior to May 31st that we were responsible for shutting down, not shows after May 31st.
Steve second.
Okay, Steve second. Okay. The motion is put on the floor for debate. Anyone have a comment? Melanie, Hayata?
Yes.
None from me.
Mhm.
Okay. Are we ready for the question? Okay, is there any objection to passing of the motion about not reimbursing after May 31st? Hearing no objection by unanimous consent, the motion is agreed to. All right, let's move on to order number 6.
Rich and Kathy, thank you. Okay. Hold on, mute myself.
Okay, Cindy Bird, I think this is your.
Yes. Based on our survey in the last few weeks of October, it was determined that people would like to see minimum point requirements for a regional win. Each of these action items suggests the minimum points that received the highest votes in the survey. And so I would ask that you either approve these minimums or make amendments to each one as appropriate.
Okay, so let's take the first one. Cindy, you want to read it and then we'll ask for a second.
Approve the minimum requirement of 200 points to earn a regional win title in kitten class in the 2020-2021 show season.
Rachel seconds.
Thank you, Rachel. Is there any discussion? Kenny Curley?
Yeah, I have no problem with any of these action items, but I would like to point out, I know that I'm an elderly person, but I do not remember the board actually as a whole authorizing this survey to go out, period, based on the questions that this committee had come up with. Or is that something that I missed?
Well, I think we charged the board with making a survey to update current stuff from what we did in the spring.
But I do know that there were a lot of discussions that had come up about certain questions that people had some problems with, not myself included, but there was never a vote conducted as to the the overall survey before it went out to our constituents.
Okay, that's fine, but that's not germane to this motion, Kenny. If you want to bring that up after we cover these 4 motions, you can do it then, okay?
Well, I just think it's important because we're voting on something that technically is not something that was approved by the board. All right, I'll be quiet.
Okay. Well, the committee did the work. They sent it out. We wanted to get some input from the members, and we got that, and that's what they come up with. So, see Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
I personally think these are too low. I looked at the survey. There was not much difference between them, but I mean, this is like asking people, would you rather have $1 million, 500,000 or 10,000? Everybody's always going to go for the lowest in which they can achieve. At this point, I mean, you're just giving them the lowest to make it. And I just think that they need something to, try to achieve besides just getting the minimums.
Okay. Sharon Roy, you're recognized. You're muted, Sharon. Okay, Cindy Bird, go ahead and we'll come back to Sharon when she gets unmuted.
Yes, I agree with Pam Loser as well. I had a friend who, based on these minimums, earned a regional, will have, there's a present progressive there somewhere, may have earned a regional win in one show at Cotton States because she made a lot of rings and made well over 200 points. So that's why when I introduced this, I said, or amend it as we see fit.
Okay. Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Thank you. When I'm looking at these points, I'm also looking at the number of cats that my region is going to see in a show. Our first show was 47 cats. Our second show was 53 cats. I don't know what's going to happen with the third. So as things are right now, excuse me, unless we have some more shows with larger entries, we're not going to have any regional wins if the points go higher. In fact, with household pets, when we get to it, I'm going to ask for a reduction. But it's just not going to be there, especially with the second and third rounds of COVID going around.
Okay, Sharon Roy, you're unmuted now.
I hope so. Can you hear me?
I can.
You can?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say I agree with Pam Mosier. I think that overall they're a little bit too low. I certainly can go along with the household pet one, but the rest I would like to see a little bit higher.
Okay. Kenny Carly, your hand's up. Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. The way I look at it is we ran this poll for a specific reason to get information. This is the information that we got. And I am very hesitant to go against what our constituents are overwhelmingly telling us they want. My one issue is with Pam's region. If there's a way that we can do a certain number of rings, points per ring, or 200 points, something like that, where a region that 200 is unachievable, I would be much happier. But as far as raising it, our constituents said that these are the amounts that they're comfortable with. And I'm going to support that.
Thank you, Rachel. George Eichenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'm going to slightly disagree with Rachel. These aren't the amounts that our constituents picked. These are the amounts they picked among the choices we gave them. And on some of these, I don't really have as big a problem with the kitten one because I think that's reasonable. But when you look at the championship class, almost as many people went for the highest choice as the lowest choice. The lowest choice won by a few votes, but there are just almost as many people that wanted to go for the highest choice. And for the household pets, 200 points is too much. It really needs to go down a bit from there. I don't know how that was picked as the minimum, but again, it was the least people could go with among the choices they were given. So I support number one. I would like to go higher on number two. I would support number three. I would like to go lower on number four.
Okay, we can get to those when we get there. Kenny Curley, your hand's up.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind now, this is for the lower rung. We'd like to recognize as many of our constituents, I think, throughout the year, which is obviously going to be very short. You can accumulate if you want to stay in the lead in your particular region by continuing to go to shows, which incentivizes people to enter shows where they feel safe and can achieve even higher amount of points. So keeping in mind, this is the lower end of the entire totem pole. So I have no problem with what the majority of the fancy voted for, the clubs in particular. So I'm going to support all four of these motions.
Okay, any further debate on item number one? Rich, your hand's up.
Yeah, sorry for my bad connections earlier. I think
that's okay.
I'm all set.
I understand.
Yeah, so I'm going to support what Rachel said and also support what Pam Delabar is asking for on the household win. As I recall, there wasn't a lower number on the household pet numbers for the clubs to choose. So I think if we do set that a lower amount, it's okay. If we raise the 1, 2, and 3, and that's not what the clubs voted on, and it's not necessarily the majority, it's that these point levels receive the greatest number of selections. And I understand what George is saying. That's what all was presented to them, but that's what they were asking for. And I think we need to honor that. Otherwise, and I've said this before in an email to the board, if we're not prepared to take the information from our clubs based on a survey and go by it, don't put out the survey. Because a lot of times when you ask the information on a survey from your clubs, you may not like what you get. So we got it. I'm okay with it. And I think we should support it and address number 4. Thank you.
Okay, Cindy Byrd.
I just want to remind us that regional win titles are 25th through best. And these point minimums would be the barrier to get across to 25th. This is not automatic.
That's a good point. Any further debate on item 1? Kathy Calhoun?
Wondered if this would there be an opportunity to possibly have a different minimum point threshold for region, for like Europe?
We could make that a separate motion if you want.
Okay.
Let's vote on number 1. Is there any objection to number 1?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of number 1 is presented with 200 points, get a regional title for the kitten class, please raise your hand.
Howard's a yes.
Okay, Howard Yukiko-san
Yes.
is a yes. Howard's a yes. Kathy Calhoun is a yes. Rachel Enger is a yes. George Eigenhauser, Carol Krasnowski, Kenny Curley, Kathy Dunham, Cindy Byrd, Pam Delabar, Rich Maston, Sharon Roy, John Kalila.
Errol, this
Yes.
is Kathy. I apologize. My hand was still up based on my other comment. I'm a no.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. So Rachel, take Kathy Calhoun out. All right, and add in Yukiko Hayata and Howard Webster. All right, all those opposed?
Morgan.
Okay,
Calhoun.
Melanie is a no.
Calhoun.
Hang on a minute.
Sorry.
Calhoun is a no. Rachel, take your hand down. Brian Mosier's a no. Steve McCullough is a no. Pam Mosier is a no. Kathy Calhoun is a no. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Rachel, would you mind announcing the vote, please?
Sure. We had 12 yes votes, 5 no votes.
No abstentions. Okay, the motion is agreed to. We'll move on to number 2. Cindy
Approve the
Byrd.
minimum requirement of 400 points to earn a regional win title in championship class for the 2020-2021 show season.
Okay.
Rich will second.
Thank you, Rich. We have a motion and a second to approve a minimum requirement of 400 points to earn a regional win in the championship class for the current show season. Okay, that question is up for debate. Anyone? Melanie, Howard, Yukiko?
It's Melanie.
Yep.
I have the same problem with this as I had with number 1, but even more so here because the votes were as close as they were on the survey even, and I think that 400 points is too low.
Okay.
With
All
the
right.
exception of Region 9, which I would certainly consider a separate motion for.
Sure, I think we can, after we get through these 4 motions, we'll tackle Region 9 at that point in time. Any further debate on item number 2? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, Hayata-san?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Okay, so the yes votes are Yukiko Hayata, Howard Webster, Rich Maston, Carol Krasnowski, Kenny Curley, Cindy Byrd, Kathy Dunham, Pam Delabar, Rachel Enger. And if you guys will take your hands down, and we'll call for the no votes. Melanie?
Yes, I mean, no, but yes,
Okay, you're a no vote. Okay.
right.
Yeah, Melanie Morgan is a no. Brian Mosier, George Eigenhauser, Sharon Roy, Pam Mosier, Steve McCullough, Kathy Calhoun, John Kalila. Are there any abstentions? No abstentions. Rachel, will you announce the vote, please?
There were 9 yes votes, 8 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on to item number 3, Cindy. Oh, that motion is agreed to. Number 3, Cindy.
Approve the minimum requirement of 200 points to earn a regional win title in premiership class in the 2020-2021 show season. Oops, that only snuck in there. That shouldn't be there.
Okay.
Carol,
Strike
Rachel
out.
second.
I thought
Rachel
I
second.
heard. Okay, Rich is the second. Any debate? Motion is up for debate. All right, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Howard's a yes.
Okay, Yukiko-san
Yes.
is the, okay, so the yes votes are Yukiko Hayata, Howard Webster, Rich Maston, Pam Delabar, Cindy Bird, Steve McCullough, Kathy Dunham, Carol Krasnowski, George Eigenhauser, and Rachel Langer.
And Kenny Curley.
And Kenny Curley. Oh yes, thanks, Kenny. I just saw you pop in there. All right, take your hands down, please. All those opposed, please raise your hand.
Morgan,
Okay, Melanie Morgan is a no vote. Brian Mosier is a no vote. Pam Mosier, Kathy Calhoun, John Kalila, Sharon Roy. Any abstentions? Okay, Rachel, would you announce the vote? Oh, Kathy Calhoun's a no.
We have 11 yes votes, 6 no votes, 0
Okay.
abstentions.
17. Okay. Thank you. That motion is agreed to. Now let's move on to the household pets. Number 4,
Approve.
Cindy Bird.
Approve a minimum requirement of 200 points to earn a regional win title in household pet class in the 2020-2021 show season.
Rachel second with comment.
Okay. Now, before I state the question and open debate, do you want to change the 200 points so that we don't have to go through an amendment process?
Yes.
What
Yeah,
number
that
do
was
you
my
want to-
comment.
What number do you want to put in? 150, 100?
I'd like 100.
Okay.
This is Sharon. I'd like 100 too. I think that's
Okay,
realistic.
then let's make the question, read 100 points, and if that doesn't get approved, then we can vote on another one. So the motion that I'm going to put on the floor for debate is approve the minimum requirement of 100 points to earn a regional win title in household pet class for the current show season. All right, Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Bye. Nope. Oops. Sorry.
George, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that the HHP chair posted to the chat, and she's okay with 100 as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, and I'm supportive of the 100 as well.
Okay, any other comments? Let's vote on the motion, which is to approve the minimum requirement of 100 points to earn a regional win title for the household pet class in the current show season. Everybody in favor of that, please raise your hand.
Howard's in favor.
Morgan,
Okay, so Morgan,
Yukiko.
Yukiko, and Howard, it looks like it's unanimous, but I'll call the name since I called for the vote. So the yes votes are Howard Webster, Yukiko Hayata, Melanie Morgan, Sharon Roy, Rachel Anger, Rich Maston, Brian Mosier, Cindy Bird, Kenny Curley, Kathy Calhoun, John Kalila, Carol Krasnowski, Pam Delabar, Kathy Dunham, George Eichenhauser, Steve McCullough, and Pam Mosier. Okay, if you'll take your hands down. Any no votes, please raise your hand. Any abstentions? Rachel, will you announce the vote?
I have 17 yes votes.
Thank you. Okay, that passed. So let's, who wants to make a motion about Europe? Pam Delabar, would you like to?
Actually, I'm not prepared to come up with this because this is something that I hadn't even considered might happen. I would like to bring it up in December.
Okay, that's fine. Then we'll bring up the point minimums for Regional Wind and Region 9 at the December meeting. Rachel, will you make a note of that and make it a special order?
I will.
Thank you so much.
Daryl,
Yes.
question. Back in October, we passed the exception for the split season kittens from last year because at that time we were not having regional winds. Now
Okay.
that we've reinstated regional winds, when would it be appropriate to address undoing what we did in October on that?
Okay, well, if you do it tonight to make if you want to rescind that and make it for the current one, it would take a 2/3 vote to do it tonight. If you want to do it for December, it can be pre-noticed and it will only take a majority vote.
So that's probably what we should do, right?
Well, that's the smartest thing to do in my opinion, because I don't
Okay,
know if
let's
you
do
can.
that.
I don't know if you can get 2/3 vote tonight to rescind it.
Basically, the reason that we did it no longer exists,
Yes, I
so it
understand
doesn't make
that.
any sense to have it, so.
Yeah. If you want, my suggestion, since it would only require a majority vote instead of a 2/3 vote, is to pre-notice it. And then, you can get with Rachel, she can pre-notice the motion. And I mean, I'm assuming what you're wanting to do is resend it because we put them in last season.
Right.
Now, did central office?
Now we're robbing other kittens that should have, we have to basically move things back in time.
Okay, has
Since
central office
we changed the
awarded?
reason that we changed it in the first place.
Okay, my question is, has central office awarded those regional winning
Yeah.
kittens for last year?
Daryl, this is Eileen. I believe we did. So
Okay,
now we'll have to
okay.
take those titles away.
Yeah, it'd be out of order then, Melanie. You
Oh,
can't undo a
Oh, wait,
motion.
we haven't. wait. Okay.
Say it again.
Okay, I take that. I'm sorry. We haven't actually awarded the titles yet. They haven't given them the NW yet, those 4 kittens. I thought it had been done, but James says no.
Okay, all right. Because if you had, we couldn't resend it because the action's already taken place. If the action has not taken place, then it can be rescinded so that they would qualify. I'm assuming, Melanie, you're going to put them into this show season. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, they just need to go back to where they belong because now there's a number of other kittens who are now eligible for regional wins that would be basically falling in a gap based off of the fact that we had passed one rule based off one set of criteria. We then changed that criteria, and if we don't change it back, then there's a whole group of kittens that will now fall in that vacuum.
Okay.
So.
All right.
We can do that in December as long as it's not going to, as long as, Eileen, you can hold off on awarding those titles so that we don't become out of order.
Ellie?
We can hold off on awarding the titles.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll bring it up in December.
All right. Thank you. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, I think I need a little refreshing of my memory. Didn't we determine it was only 2 kittens that were impacted and we weren't taking away any awards from any other? It was additional award to the existing?
That's correct. And I think it was 3 kittens.
Okay, it was 3. So I don't think we are impacting any of the other kittens by giving these awards based on what we did back in October.
Melanie?
Go ahead, Melanie.
Yes, we are, Rich. What we did for those 3 kittens was we only awarded kittens that would have been eligible for regional awards based on the points from last season. If we left the kittens where they were and had done absolutely nothing, then those kittens would have been eligible for regional awards this season. We just passed a rule that basically put in a 200 regional award. There are many more kittens than 3 that will now become eligible to fight for those regional awards amongst all the other cats. So if we don't change what we did, now that we've reinstated regional awards, then those kittens basically have been left without a home. They weren't eligible to get an award last season, yet they earned points. And now we're saying they're not eligible to earn an award this season. So they're left in limbo, and that's not right for those kittens.
Okay, thank you for explaining that, Melanie.
Pam Delmar, you're recognized.
Thank you. We have already announced that those 3 kittens are going to be getting an appropriate regional award based upon where their points lie. I know the one that was in my region, that kitten's aged out. There's no way it can be competitive for this region, especially since it's in a country that's restricted right now. Again, we're bouncing around. I think we ought to stick with the action that we took for those 3 kittens and move on. This is an aberrant time. It's hopefully will never happen again for these 2 show seasons to come up with all these different conditions that we've had to do. But otherwise, again, we're confusing the issue.
I would object at this time. I feel like we're out of order. Is there a
Yeah.
motion on the floor here?
I was going to say
think we
that.
need to stick with the agenda.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
no
thank
motion.
you. All right, Melanie, if you want to do it, you can bring it up in December, okay? Or if you
Will
want to
do,
make a
thanks.
motion
That's all I was
now.
asking.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Pam, you're going to bring back in December for regional wins for Region 9.
I am.
All right.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yes, I am.
thank you, Shelley, for bringing that to our attention. Our next order of the day is the International Division Mainland China report. Alan, can you bring Russell Webb onto the panel?
Yep. He's already in.
Good deal, thank you. Hi, Russell, how you doing?
Good evening, how are you? I'm going to be pretty quick. It's just a quick review with 5 new entry clerks. They went through 90-minute training with a test and all did very well. We did hold our first show in China, licensed CFA, on October 24th. We received 101 entries and it was held in Chongqing, China. We do have another show that was done November 7th. This got 71 entries. It was a 2 all-breed ring show. I also want to bring up that Skyline Feline Cat Club is doing a 10-ring show November 14th, and they did invite all our new associated judges at T1 judges to actually do the show. I did speak to Ann Mathis about the training, and she said everybody did very well on the Zoom training. So I want to thank that cat club for opening their arms and taking in our new judges. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Russell. Kenny, you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I just want to compliment Russ and all the people in China. Even though I was the only one to vote against this Chinese associate program, it has been very successful. I know how hard the people that have been working on this, and Russell and I have been in contact with creating an opportunity for these judges to get rolling. And this is what Russell has been able to do with this club next weekend show, or this coming up weekend show. So it's going to be a very exciting time for CFA in China. So kudos to Russell, everybody in China that's been working so hard. And I want to compliment Russell on really creating a very equal and equitable situation over there in China. That's the only way you're going to succeed when you're expanding. And I've had a lot of experience in expanding CFA in certain parts of the world. You've got to be fair with everyone. You're not going to be able to be friendly with everyone. You're not going to be able to do any favors. If you treat them all the same and support those individuals that support our brand and our ideals, you'll be successful. So kudos to Russell and equal kudos to those in China that have supported us over the last several years. So thank you again.
Good deal. Thank you. Okay, we'll have our first special committee report, which is line item 8, a virtual cat competition committee, and that is Kathy Dunham.
Good evening. Aline, could you scroll up just slightly for me? There you go. Thank you. I'm sure everybody has read this report. They have done a phenomenal job. They've hit the ground running, working with the Millennial Committee on the Top Cat Challenge qualifiers. We do have one action item for the board this evening, and that is a motion requesting permission to authorize and help schedule additional virtual shows following required regional director approval beginning after the Top Cat Challenge is complete in December. This would allow the virtual cat competition committee to oversee scheduling. We are not in any way going to require that they use the current platform. Any group can use the platform of their choice. This is just a scheduling issue to help ensure that moving forward, everyone has adequate visibility and can be successful with their competition.
Okay, and you're making that motion?
I am making that motion.
And I need a second.
Carol seconds.
Thank you, Carol Krasnowski, for the second. Okay, the floor is open for debate on this. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, I think we need to go back to the written instructions that were set in place for the virtual to make sure that we're not running afoul on that. I don't remember anybody being in charge of a schedule on the outlined instructions.
Rich, this would be for additional shows after the Top Cat Challenge finishes. Regional directors still have the authority to approve a virtual event, just as had been discussed in previous meetings. This is just to allow so that two groups do not pick the same time period, because we want them to be completely successful for both events.
So then should the motion be specific to instead of preparing and proposing requirements, or I'm sorry, requesting permission to authorize and help schedule to the committee is going to schedule?
That's fine. I'm comfortable with that.
Hey, Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. You know, I agree with whoever spoke earlier saying they like to support committee chairs, which I like to do as well. But when something comes forward where we're limiting things, you know, I have a little bit of an issue with that. I don't want to limit anything. What if someone in California wants to have a virtual show and then 2 weeks later someone in Europe wants to have a show? I'm not sure how that is going to affect the profitability of either one of them. So I would like to see the maximum number lifted. I can't really support that.
Well, Rachel, in your specific example, both of those shows would be scheduled. It's more of a matter of the California, in your example, the California show and a European show being on the same weekend or week, that would potentially cause one or both of them to not see the full financial profitability that they could if they were on different weekends. And that's what the committee is trying to achieve is to help, in your example, a California club may not know what Europe is doing. So, if we can help guide them to be the best event they can be in a time frame by asking them to hold off a week, I think that's a viable solution to make sure that they're all financially sound and can raise the money that they're looking for.
Okay, Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Can I just have a wrap up on that?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Rachel.
I do understand all that, Kathy. I just happen to disagree. I really don't think that one virtual cat competition is in one part of the world is going to affect a virtual cat competition in another part of the world.
Understood.
Okay, Pam Delabar, you recognized.
We do have a virtual show in Russia the first weekend of December that I did take through the committee. And that's when I discussed with Iris and with Kathy about having an overall supervision of the virtual shows. I would think that those that use the VCC, which is good, which we've rented until the end of the show season, would definitely come under this committee. I do have a problem that I don't think that something that is held in, like, let's say, Russia, and is going to be held in the Russian language is going to affect what happens in Southern California. I don't know if virtual shows are going to be the go-to thing, because people are planning their breedings and everything based upon having real shows and real titles. But basically, I can support everything but the 2 shows a month.
Actually,
I think we can do more.
Actually, the committee, I mean, we can run 5 shows on the VCC platform, and I'm sure that same protocol would be applied to any organization, no matter what the platform is.
Hey, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Part of it is that we don't have a lot of experience with virtual shows. With physical shows, we all have our opinion about whether something in Southern California affects Northern California, whether something in Kentucky affects Florida. But virtual shows, having no physical site, your limitations on entry are 0. I mean, you can enter from anywhere in the world without an airfare, without a hotel room, without any of the associated costs. So I think the market for virtual shows, the entry for virtual shows, is going to be much bigger than the 500 miles or whatever we normally assume for brick and mortar shows. So I do believe we do need to have some handle on the virtual shows. So it's just, we're not inundated with them and so nobody makes money. But I think 2 is far too many. I would prefer to see, 4 or 5. I think that would be a reasonable number in any given month. And if 5 is the limit on our platform, then that would be a good number to go with. But I really don't know how much these shows are going to impact each other. And I don't want to make it just a free for all, because we just don't know how that's going to pan out.
Hey, Rich Maston, your hand's up.
I'm going to lower my hand. Sorry.
Okay. Does someone want to make an amendment to a maximum of 5 a month? Or are you okay with the way it's worded?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to amend it to 5 a month as the maximum.
Okay.
Steve second.
All right, Steve second. So let's debate the amendment. Is there any debate on the amendment? George?
Nope. I'm ready to vote.
Yeah, Iris is also on to answer any questions, and she would like to speak.
Okay, well, she's a chair. We can promote her and get her on.
She's already on.
Okay, Iris, you're recognized.
I'd just like to point out that if we are authorizing a maximum of 5 shows in a month, that means there could be 2 shows on the same weekend. And based on my experience with the VCC platform and what we've been through with the regional qualifiers, I do not see that as anything remotely approaching a recipe for success.
Okay.
2 may be too little, but 5 is too many.
Okay, George, would you considering lowering that 5 to 4? That way we would
How
not.
about just make it 1 per weekend?
Okay, that's good.
I'll deal with that.
Okay, fantastic. And Steve, you want to second that?
Yes, because some months have 5 weekends.
Yes. Okay, so it'll be a maximum of 1 per weekend.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the amendment. So is there any objection to the amendment? George, you have your hand up?
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, hearing no objection, the amendment is agreed to. So now our main motion is going to be amended. And is there any further debate on that? So I'm going to call the question on the amended main motion, and that amendment was 1 a weekend to maximize profitability. Any objection to the amended main motion? Hearing no objection by unanimous consent, the motion is agreed to. Okay, Iris, you want to go with what you're planning for the next meeting?
Well, we already have several requests in place for from people that want to run shows that we have been holding in abeyance pending this board action. So first thing we're going to do is get back to these people and start trying to figure out when they can do their shows, and we'll be reporting on that next time.
Okay, good deal. Thank you so much. All right. So next order of business is the Millennial Outreach Committee. Rachel and Aline, could you promote Lorna? Are you on, Lorna?
And while she's getting on, I did want to acknowledge all the work that everybody is doing on these shows. To say it's a full-time job would be a severe underestimation. I know these guys are putting in 50, 60, 100-hour weeks working until the wee hours of the morning to make this happen. And, I have to say that for those of us that have been fortunate enough to judge these virtual cat competitions, everything is right there and put together beautifully. They put everything together for our finals presentation and have someone there holding our hand, and how they're not falling asleep while we're doing that, I don't know. But I think they're doing a terrific job. This is really a lot of fun. And if you have not participated in one or donated to one, do it.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. Lorna, you want to unmute yourself and you can give your report?
Sure. Thank you so much. This is, like Rachel said, it is beyond a full-time job, but it's been a lot of fun. We are busily finalizing the details of the CFA International Top Cat Challenge finale, as well as supporting the regional virtual qualifying events with Facebook marketing and content creation, as well as PowerPoint presentation, template creation, and general support. Due to some personal issues with the International Division Virtual Qualifying Event Committee, we would like to give them an additional week to procure entries for their event, and therefore bump the CFA International Top Cat Challenge by 1 additional week. The schedule proposed is below. With the last event that I put on as a co-manager with Desiree Bobby for the Tricks and Picks for Treats challenge. She did do quite a good number. I think it was close to $300 to $500 worth of marketing for Facebook for promoting her event. We did not find that the paid promotion had any effect on entries, participation in spectators' choice voting, whatever. And because of that, we would like to ask that the budget of $1,000 that was previously allocated to be split into two parts. Half to go ahead and try to get the virtual audience to watch the show, happenings, and the other half to put towards prizes.
Okay, Rachel, would you like to make that into a motion?
I will make that motion that we split the budget of $1,000 for marketing in half and apply half to marketing and half to prizes.
Any seconds?
Kenny Curley seconds. Thank you. All right, so the motion is up for debate. Anyone have comments to make?
I have a comment. I can't get my hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, so typically, because you're moving funds from one line item to another line item, we typically go, and if your budget resides on CFAs, but P&L, we typically go to the budget committee first so that we can ask all the appropriate questions so that the board doesn't have to do that. And then we, make a recommendation. Now, one of the interesting things is that, and this is in my October board report, we are having a mid-year budget review of the entire budget for CFA the 18th, I believe. This is coming right up. And what I would recommend, as opposed to, having this discussion here about reallocating funds, that we kick it to the budget committee next week, and we'll be on top of it because that is happening next week, and then come back and see how, and really we need to refine your financials within that budget at any rate for these shows, because it really wasn't there at the beginning when we set the budget. So we really need to do some refinement. So it would be my recommendation that we kick it to the budget committee and then move forward from there.
Okay.
So Kathy, so the $1,000 that they're getting now will have to be used toward marketing. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not. No. But what I'm saying is that, first of all, we don't know from a financial standpoint. We don't know very much about how the financials, we know that the shows have been successful. We know the clubs are making a lot of money, and we know all these things, but we really don't know any more than that, just generality. So we'd like to get a little closer to what's going on from a financial standpoint.
Well, I understand that, but it says here that the budget is $1,000 for marketing. Is that obviously has been approved?
Right. So then you want to reduce the budget and put it somewhere else. And typically when that sort of thing is done, it goes to the budget committee first.
Okay, I understand that. What my point is, it's $1,000. We either put it right now, it's all into the marketing aspect. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So all they're asking is to allow half of that budgeted. It's already budgeted.
So here's what this is what I think what they're saying is that the marketing has not been successful based on all of the work that Desiree did for the Lykoi show. We don't know what's been done for any of the other shows, so we don't know any background. You would not think that taking money away from marketing is going to improve marketing. It could be that maybe you need another $500, period. It could be that you don't need to really rob Peter to pay Paul. We want you to be successful. So I really, the rationale about taking money away from marketing when it's already not successful is not really going to help that. And you really want to broaden this, and that's what marketing does. So I'm actually really trying to be, there may be a point that that the committee may need additional funding for toys in and of itself.
Okay, well, I just point out they're just asking for reallocation, not more money. George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
I understand what Kathy's saying, but we're on kind of a short fuse here. I mean, we're going to start taking entries in less than 2 weeks, and we're going to start doing the judging in 3.5, 4 weeks. If we're going to advertise more prizes to encourage entries, we need to do that advertising now for it to have any effect. So sending this to the budget committee in a week and then the board taking it up in December to approve it and then not even getting starting on it until sometime in December, it may already be moot by then. I think we need to deal with this today one way or the other.
Okay, so then I will ask all my questions that I would ask tonight.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to understand more about the marketing efforts that were made as opposed to being made at other shows.
Okay, so when I say that she used paid marketing, I mean Facebook targeted ads. I do not mean anything other than that. It is my opinion that the prizes that she offered, which were up in the sum of $2,000, were what made this show successful. The Tricks and Treats show had almost 800 entries when the other regional shows have had somewhere in the ballpark of 380. So I feel that having more prizes is a better marketing tool than paid ads for people that may not already be somewhere within our realm of people that we can reach to enter virtual cat competitions.
Do you have a distribution plan for the toys?
It didn't say toy. I'm not sure where that came from.
Right.
Sure. So I don't really have a plan yet, but the easiest thing to do is to send people things directly on Amazon, so there's no shipment cost. And we don't have to spend time physically shipping and packaging awards. I did that for my region's show, and it took 3 of us about 2 weeks to do that.
Anything else, Kathy?
And do you plan, would all of the entries, all of the finals be given some sort of gift card?
No, that's not what I plan at all. I'm going to take the budget back to my committee and say, this is what we have. Let's try to figure out the best spend for this money. It could be that we give, a small prize for all of the top 15 finals. It could be that we give some bigger prizes for, the best cat in each final. There are a lot of different ways that we can go about distributing the funds. As of right now, we do have one $500 sponsorship from Zymox for the show, and we have not even really begun to procure sponsors for this event. We are working on getting it onto the VCC platform currently with the help of central office, and my committee member Jamie Lerner is going to be doing the HTML back end on trying to make the VCC event page more aesthetically pleasing and out of the box to try to make this a really spectacular event. And she's donating her time to do that.
Are the other sponsors donating or or paying for their sponsorship spots?
There's only they already sent their 9.
Pardon?
Zymox already sent the money. It's been received months ago.
Zymox and Jules Galore and Itzy, are they all paid sponsors as well?
They're paid per region. So all of the things that you've seen on the slide so far, those are sponsors that the regions have procured on their own. Those are not anything that my committee has done.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Thank you. Where can people find out if their cat did receive an award from one of the regional qualifiers? Where can, is it listed like, to give you an example, best Norwegian forest cat from region 1 and 9 was supposed to get a special award. Where can people actually see where this is written on what they are supposed to get?
They are on each region's VCC page.
Cannot find that.
Okay, then you would need to speak to that region's show manager.
Okay.
Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should look at this a little differently. Instead of taking $500 from the marketing budget and putting it to prizes, maybe we should leave the marketing budget as is and come with a motion saying that you want $500 additional to the budget for prizes. And if you don't spend your full 1,000 on marketing, so be it. I understand the concerns that Kathy's having. If you take money away from marketing, you might end up with fewer participants. So it's just a thought to think about approaching it that way.
Yeah, I understand that. And I mean, and there are, I mean, you should work smarter and not harder. But honestly, the posts that Mike Altschul and I do together, with the hundreds of different pages that we share too, and the breed groups that we're in, those seem to be generating the most amount of entries and the spectator's choice voting.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Who was that? Rachel?
Right. I will accept that amendment to the motion. Rich's suggestion.
Well, he just threw it out there. Rich, you want to make it into a motion?
I can, just to get some discussion going on it, sure.
Okay, so it's 1,000
amendment
for
is-
marketing and you're adding 500 for prizes.
Correct.
George will second.
Oh, Rachel already seconded it,
Oh, okay.
George. Thank you, though. Okay, so we're into debate on the amendment. Rachel?
Go for it.
Okay. Kenny Curley?
Yeah, could you just clarify the motion we'll be voting on at this time, please?
The motion is that we will continue to give them $1,000 per their marketing budget and add $500 to be used on behalf of prizes.
Thank you.
I'd also note that at this time, all of the shows have met their goal, and CFA has not had to pay for judges for any of the qualifiers at this time.
Great job, and thank you.
Yep. Any other debate? Rachel, your hand's still up.
Excuse me, somebody needs to mute. I'm hearing what sounds like a heavy breather and a didgeridoo going on in the background.
I don't. Okay. Kenny?
Yeah, I just want to thank Lorna and her entire group for the hard work that they've been doing to put this all together. And it looks like it's been a very successful, thing for them to do on behalf of our association. So speaking for my region, which they certainly enjoyed putting on that show, I want to thank you personally for your efforts. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to vote on the amendment? Is there any objection to the amendment? Hearing no objection, the amendment is agreed to. Now let's vote on the amended main motion, which is the amended motion we just passed. All those in favor, or I'll just call for any objection to the amended motion. Hearing no objection, the amended motion is agreed to. All right, Lorna, go get them.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, Alan, you'll scroll up. We're into unfinished. Is there any unfinished business that we need to bring up?
Yeah, I get I got something I'd like to say. We're talking about online motions.
Yes.
We did an online motion pertaining to our T1 judges in China.
Yes.
Do we need to, we've already done a ratification because it was unanimous, correct?
It doesn't need to be ratified. According to New York law, if we get a unanimous vote, it's automatically accepted and enacted. we brought it up because it needs to go in the minutes, Kenny.
Got it. All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any others? Okay, let's go into other committees because I think there's a household pet. Can we bring Jenny onto the panel?
I'm here. She's already there.
Good deal. Hi, Jenny. How you doing?
Hi,
Good to see you in Cotton States.
good to see you too.
Okay, you want to go ahead and present your report?
Yes. I think that as far as a board action item, that I won't need a board action item at this point because it was just discussed with the other committee.
Yep.
But just wanted to introduce myself and say that we have been working on a club for household pets, and the Half Moon Club is now going to be taking household pet exhibitors and will be making them into club members. And we appreciate Sharon Roy and Carol's help on that. And that's it.
Good deal. Thank you so much. And we're glad you joined the meeting tonight. Okay. Take care. All right. Let's go into new business. And so let's talk about if we want to add in to pre-notice a meeting 2 weeks after the 12 meetings that we have scheduled that would be used only in an emergency situation.
Yeah, I'll make a motion in order to do that until we can change the Constitution or add to the Constitution.
Okay.
Rachel seconds.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so the motion is that we will add to our, we won't be able to do it we won't do it for this meeting because that would be like 1 week before our December meeting. So Rachel, if you'll make a note that 2 weeks after the December meeting, and then 2 weeks after every meeting that's on the schedule right now, if you'll pre-notice, and if there's no emergency business to be conducted, then the meeting will be canceled. Okay, so everybody on the same page with that? Is there any debate on? Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So would it be on a Tuesday, on a Tuesday evening?
Yes.
Okay.
2
At the
weeks
same time
after.
that we start at 8 p.m. Eastern time?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just like we do now. We'll just add that in 2 weeks after our 12 scheduled meetings. Do you want to call for a vote of 10 to make it an emergency, or shall we just use our discretion and cancel it if we don't need the meeting? Or we can make it subject to the call of the executive committee. Kathy?
I don't think we need to make it, I don't know, maybe Shelley has a point of view. But I don't think we need to make it unduly complicated if there's no emergency, I think.
Sure. Yep, George Eigenhauser.
I'd like to see the executive committee cancel it. My fear is work tends to fill the available space. If we create another meeting, people are going to get a little bit casual about what an emergency is. They want something quick, they put it on there. I'd rather the executive committee make the decision whether we need the meeting or not.
Okay. All right, Shelley, you wanted to make a comment?
Thank you.
Somebody needs to mute their mic. Kenny, you're not muted. Kathy, you're not muted.
Okay, so I'm reading the Constitution, and essentially you're just setting a meeting, which I guess you could call this a special meeting, but the Constitution requires the special meeting be set not less than 2 months away, nor more than 3 months from the date of such. And that would be in Section 2 of the Constitution. So I don't think you can actually set it for after the December meeting. I mean, it's too soon. I don't have a problem with you doing it, but I feel like if somebody doesn't want something voted on in that meeting, then they're going to say, well, I didn't actually have real notice. Technically, according to the Constitution, you can't set a meeting without giving at least 2 months notice. So if you notice now, indefinitely, we're having this meeting, you've given 2 months notice for all of the future. It's just your first one can't happen in December.
So Shelley, I think isn't that under the delegation special meetings? That's not under the board. There's a section for meetings under the board of directors. And I think that requires a 30-day notice.
I'm just trying to find that right now.
Yeah, well, and I just brought up the Constitution.
I believe it's Article 7, Executive Board,
Meetings,
Section 2, meetings.
Yeah, it's 30 days.
It's 30 days for board meetings.
Yes.
Okay, I withdraw that comment.
Okay. All right. So are we ready to call the question?
My hand's back up.
Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
Actually, I thought that board member Delabar would have chimed in. Is there any way that we can have these special meetings that might accommodate people on other sides of the globe, as opposed to the same in the middle of the night for those folks?
Well, I don't work. I can have the meeting anytime you
Me
want.
too. But maybe, and maybe accommodate those that work. I mean, maybe we should have it like, I don't know, 7 in the
But-
morning.
but
I just
I know-
feel bad for everyone that's not in the United States.
I know, but Kenny and Rich and George and a lot of people have jobs.
I know.
So Rich Maston,
Yeah, so what I am suggesting is we may want to check with Anita Pelletier, the New York attorney, on what New York State has in place for new provisions due to the COVID that go out to 2021. There may be something on there specific to board meetings. It may not require a 30-day notice for board meetings.
okay, Pam Delabar.
Kathy, thank you so much for the thoughtful comment. I took this position knowing full well that I was going to have middle of the night meetings. I know Hayata-san is also stuck in the same situation as far as the time schedule goes. Of course, I didn't realize it was going to be an every month thing, and if it becomes every other 2 weeks, then I think that we might have some relief. But otherwise, nothing special for us. We're well aware that we have to have some of these special meetings in the middle of the night. I'm just find it a little harder to form complete sentences at this hour of the day or night, as the case may be. But otherwise, no. Thank you for the thought, though.
Thank you, Pam. And I don't envision this being a happening thing very often, just if we have something that really comes up that really needs to be handled emergently. George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just want to respond to Rich's comment. I understand there may be emergency regulations in the past, in the present, in the future that may change, minimum meeting notice requirements in the state of New York. But that doesn't mean what we would do tonight is wrong. It's not wrong for us to set up these meetings and then cancel them. That would not be in conflict with New York law. There may be an easier way to do it, but this is a sure way to do it. So why don't we take the sure win today? And then if somebody does come up with some other workaround with COVID specific executive orders in New York, we can cancel this. But I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Kathy Calhoun, you have another comment?
Okay with that.
Okay. Kathy Calhoun. You're
I'll take my
muted.
hand down.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Steve McCullough?
Am I understanding that any 10 members can call a meeting and leave the rest of them out and vote? And then those that weren't invited to the meeting get notified at what point in time?
Well, we only have to have 10 people to form a quorum. So what we're going to do is these will all be pre-noticed on the website. And I mean, 10 board members, I think I already took the Constitution down, but I think 10 board members, but you have to have a 30-day notice, okay? And it would not make much sense to try to get 10 board members to special notice of board meetings when we got one every 2 weeks.
So this will go out to every board member and just not 10?
Well, you don't, nobody's requiring anybody to attend a board meeting. We
That
can
was my
conduct
question.
business with
Okay.
10. Okay.
All right.
Shelley?
The Constitution says that you're going to mail each member notice. And so I'm assuming that email is notice and or is this meeting notice, or are we actually going to follow through and snail mail the fact that we have this meeting? And the notice is now set that it's happening indefinitely in answer to the last question. But it's just whether or not it gets canceled.
Yeah.
And all of that would be noticed to every single member.
Yes, and that will go out in an email. Rachel will make that notice. But I think we've always done email notifications, and I don't see a reason that we need to change that. Okay, any other comments, Shelley? No, okay. Let's call the question. Is there any objection to the addition of the 2-week meeting after our 12 scheduled meetings to be posted on the list? So, and they will be canceled if we don't need them. Okay, hearing no objection, the motion is ratified by unanimous consent. Okay. All right, any other new business? No, okay, are we ready to adjourn? So it's 10:18, I think, on the East Coast time. So the meeting is adjourned. Hayata, please sign back in for the closed session stuff. Thank you, everybody, for attending. All of our attendees, there was 32 of you right now left. We appreciate everything. Pam?
May we have a 5-minute break?
Sure. Yeah, let's get back at, we'll give you 10 minutes at 10:25.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Aye.